My faith is relentless. Yeah. Come on. If you with me, then pick them up and put them down. Boots to the pavement, kingdom invasion, proclaiming his name and reclaiming his people. We are the church, no building, no steeple, making our Lord popular, evangelizing the youth and raising up the generation of Joshua to rise up, wise up and open their eyes up and live unashamed for the Christ living inside us. Relentless. Yeah.
Welcome to Relentless Faith, Relentless Faith, Relentless Faith. We have another great show for you. I am Sean Hamilton, your host, AKA Pastor Sean. We want to welcome you tonight to Relentless Faith. We have a great young man that I know personally. His name is Brian Sharp, and he's going to be singing a song called Loving Me.
Well, the first song, Loving Me, is by Jonathan McReynolds, and what the song does for me, it inspires me and it keeps me in a place where it keeps me believing that I'm worth it. You know, sometimes we walk around and we think that we mess up so bad. We think that, you know, God doesn't look past the flaw, or that we do something so awful that it's unforgiven. But that song, it keeps reminding me that in spite of me, in spite of my flaws, in spite of my downfall and my shortcomings, that God loves me regardless of. Doesn't matter what I've done, what I've said, that his love, it continues, it's everlasting. It's a godly type of love. It never gives up. It never runs out. So that's what that song means to me.
I'm nowhere close to the perfect man, and it takes a supernatural love to even understand that beyond the walls, behind the mask and confident smile, was a broken man trying to grow up and make life worthwhile. And I know there were times that you probably shouldn't, but I thank you for always loving me. And I know anyone else, they would probably wouldn't. Oh, I thank you for always loving me. Now I know there were days I looked at myself, I felt like less of a person compared to everyone else. What about that flaw? Too big, too small, can I exchange? Trying to make up for where I fell short, let sin slip away. When I look in the mirror and don't like what I see, oh, I thank you for always loving me. And I know I look bad, but you wait patiently. Oh, I thank you for always loving me. Oh, I thank you for always loving me. I just want to say thank you for always loving me. Said you keep loving me, yeah. Oh, said you keep loving me, yeah. And you never let go, God. You keep on loving me, yes. Oh, and I just want to say that I'm grateful for all that you've done for me. Listen, and I probably don't have everything that it takes, you keep loving me. And regardless of every mistake that I make, you keep loving me. And it don't matter what I do or I say, you keep loving me. Oh, and even
we all try to find something to believe in. We want to all try to make our lives seem easier, seem better. So we try to find things to believe in. But one thing that I've known, and it's through experience, and I can only give you my testimony, is that when I called on the name of Jesus, something happened immediately. And it wasn't just because I called on the name, it was because I believed. And I would say to you, for a person who don't know Jesus or will want to get to know him, if you ever been in a place where you felt lack, identity crisis, not knowing who you are or where you're going or why you're here or why you're living, you can find that answer in Jesus. So if you're looking for an answer, because if you're in front of me and if I've come in contact with you, we never know the divine connections that surround us, you know? And so I believe that if you're looking for something and you've tried everything else, if you haven't tried Jesus, you could try him, and I guarantee you, you get an answer, and you may just find what you're looking for.
My faith is relentless. Yeah.
Welcome back to Relentless Faith. We had a little bit more time to sit and talk with Brian Sharp about gospel music and what drew him into it and how he got started.
I've been in church. Let's just start there. It all started with church. You know, my mom raised me in the church, and being in the church, there was always a certain type of comfort, even though not really understanding what it is. But I just know that I was always drawn to the music with the choirs, and my mother used to always put me in the youth choirs and the youth events at the church that I was born in, and we'll be singing everywhere. Me and my cousins, we'd be singing at birthday parties and funerals and all types of stuff. But I remember we were called the More Children Ensemble. It's a horrible name, but we had it started off just like that. And as I got older and I realized that music is something that drew me, you know, and sometimes it didn't even matter what type of music. If it had a message, I listened. And the thing about it is, I realized that singing music made me feel I was at peace, no matter what was going on. No matter what happened or what somebody said to me or what somebody done to me, if I had music, if I had gospel, if I was able to have an outlet, that music, that song, that verse was my outlet. And later on, as I began to understand it more and more, God spoke to me when I was able to understand him versus everybody telling me, you should do, and you should do, and you have this, and you have that. You know, me being a kid, it was just a lot of talk, you know. But being able to hear from God and understand that I never went to school for this. You know, I had never had any school and never had any of that. When God spoke to me and said that I've given you this is it was a gift. And it's something that I don't take lightly. God gave me something that he didn't give anybody else. And so I look at that and I cherish it. And when God spoke to me and he gave me the gift, I realized that when I'm in his presence, or that I could write and I could talk about where I've been and what God showed me and how I feel and where I want to be and the things that I want to see. It's just being able to give it back to him has allowed me to overcome so many obstacles, because it was not just about singing, it was about a connection. It was my way of talking to God. Growing up, I was, you know, abused, you know, physically and mentally, verbally, you know, emotionally. And it came from all sides. It came from family. It came from school. It came from my peers. And, you know, it was just one of those things where, yeah, we all go through it. We all have those periods and times in our lives where we go through peer pressure and we get bullied or we do the bullying or whatever the case may be. But I realized that in a lot of that, a lot of people didn't have the opportunity to make it out. And because I never got caught up in what always was going on around me, no matter where it came from, I always had that outlet. I always had that connection with God because I knew that he gave me something that no man give me. I've always found God to be able in every situation. God is able, and I know that he can do exceedingly and abundantly of anything. If I take the limits off, if we take the limits off, there's nothing that God can't do. And the reason why God don't move on our behalf is because we put limitations on God. We don't really let go and let him in and let him take full control of our lives and how we think and how we act. We'll find our lives will be a lot easier if we just move out the way and let God be God.
Brian is a perfect example of a Christian who refound their faith after going through a whole bunch of serious struggles. Check it out.
It came a time where, I had got involved in, I don't even know how it happened. One thing about life and in situations is that we don't never know how we get there in some of them. But we end up there, and when we get there, we open up our eyes and like, how did I get here? And I had got involved, and it was a really bad relationship. I got involved in a really bad relationship, and it took me to a place where I totally lost sight of me. It's like I didn't see me. I didn't see anything else around me. I just saw that individual. And everything that happened, it controlled if I was happy, it controlled if I was sad, it controlled if I anything. Every emotion you can think of was controlled by that relationship. I became really, really depressed after some horrible things happened in the relationship. I became really depressed, and I was gone crazy. My mother, everybody thought that, I was going to be in a mental house because I was so gone. I was so gone. One thing that I've always hated to see was my mother cry. And there was a time, in this time period, my mother was sitting in front of me and she was crying her eyes out. And I didn't have nothing. I didn't have no emotion. I couldn't cry. I couldn't feel. I couldn't do anything. And believe everything that led up, even in that bad situation or that bad relationship, everything led up to that point where I allowed all of my issues to meet me in that place. So it wasn't just the relationship, it was everything else that I thought I let go. What happened was the encounter that I had, I was in church, and I tell you, my life went totally left. I started drinking really bad. I was in the streets doing a whole lot of stuff that a lot of people don't come back from. And I remember I was in the church, I was sitting back, and it was at the old Landmark New Covenant Church back in Buffalo, New York. And I was sitting back there, and I heard the pastor say that now is your time. If you don't speak now, forever hold your peace. That's what he said. That's what he said. And I was in the back, and I think I was even drunk. I was probably drunk in the church. I was sitting there toe up. And so I was in the back in the pew, and I was laid out, and it was just like I heard God say, get up. I heard it as clear as day, get up. And I stood up, and I sat up. I had the worst headache in the world. I will never forget how that headache felt. It was just one in a million type of feelings that you just don't feel. And I sat up, and I was so dizzy. And I grabbed a hold of the pew that was in front of me. And my grandmother touched me, and she was like, baby, you okay? And I was like, yeah, I'm good. And I heard it again, get up. And I'm looking, and it's not like a microphone sound. And this was actually the first time I really heard God speak to me. And he was like, get up. And I sat there, get up. And then it was like a strong hit, get up. And I got up. And I made my way toward the middle aisle, and I stood there. And within ourselves, we don't be ready. We don't want to be ready because we still want to do whatever we want to do. We found an excuse to do whatever we want to do now. So while it feels good, when it does feel good, no matter the after effect, no matter the results or whatever happens after, as long as I can be good in that moment, I'm good. But standing in the back, and I heard the pastor just telling people to come, and nobody was coming. And I did not want to be the only one going up there. And the pastor spoke. He spoke to me. He said, son, come here. And I was, I was thinking about being disobedient, but I didn't do that. So I just walked up to the front, and he prayed for me. And after that prayer, after he prayed for me, it was like everything, the hangover, everything I was feeling prior to walking up there was gone. And I felt light as a feather. And the pastor told me, I would never forget these words. He said, son, this is not your ending. This is your beginning. And when I heard that, it took me back to the place where I first met God. And it was from that point on, I was on a roll. Because at that point, I thought my life was over. There was no coming back from that. I done so much, and I didn't hurt so many people, and so many people didn't hurt me. I just thought I was a lost cause. But hearing those words that this is not your end, this is just your beginning, and it gets greater, I'm still excited about my greater. So that's what keeps me going, because I know that there's more than this. There's more than what we feel. There's more than what we see. And that's my goal. I'm trying to get to my greater.
Faith is relentless. Yeah. Come on.
Welcome back to Relentless Faith. Here I am again, Sean Hamilton, your host, a.k.a. Pastor Sean. We are going to get into the last segment of our show where Brian's going to sing another song. And this song is about moving forward. That name of the song actually is Moving Forward. You can't stand still in this walk. You have to always be making forward progress. I've heard that if you're standing still, then you are actually going in the wrong direction. So here's Brian with Moving Forward.
Moving forward, I minister this song almost everywhere I go. And the reason why is I look back over my life. My whole life is a testimony, from childhood going into adulthood, and, dealing with all types of things, abuse in almost any manner that you could probably think of. And at some point, life got the best of me. I allowed life to get the best of me. And I gave up on God. I gave up on church. I gave up on people's perspective of what my life should be as it relates to the church, or as it relates to Christianity or some type of religion. But moving forward ministers to me in a way where it allows me to get past my past. And it gives me a sight beyond sight. And what I mean sight beyond sight, it allows me to view things in a spiritual way where I don't no longer look at where I am and what I'm doing or what I've currently been through to get here, but it gives me sight to know that God has a destiny for me. And no matter where I've been or what I've done, that there is greater ahead. No matter the messed up times or the bad decisions, there's greater. Greater has my name on it. So moving forward allows me and encourages me to just keep pressing toward the mark. Keep pressing toward the mark for the prize of a high calling, which is in Jesus Christ.
Going back, moving ahead, here to declare to you that my past is over in you. Things are made new, surrendered my life to Christ. I'm moving forward. Yeah. What a moment you have brought me to. such a freedom I have found in you. You're a healer. You make all things new. Yeah, yeah. Not going back, moving ahead. Here to declare that my past is over. All things are made new. I surrender it all. I give it all away. Yeah. Yes, Lord. You've risen. All power in your hands. You've given me. Thank you, God, that you're a God of a second chance. Hallelujah. I lift my hands and declare it. Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. See, yeah, yeah, yeah. Not going back, moving ahead. Here to declare to you that my past is all over. And I'm standing in my new. I just surrender my life. Yeah, I'm not going back, moving ahead. The devil cannot stop me. The devil cannot block me. That no weapon is formed against me is not gonna prosper. I surrender my life. I give it all to you, Jesus. I'm moving forward. Said I'm moving forward. No matter what the naysayers say, the devil can't block me. He can't stop me. When I said that I would not be, God said that I already am. So I'm moving toward my destiny. Yeah, yeah, you make all things new. Yes, you make all things new. Oh, and I will follow you forward. Yeah, see, you make all things new. Whatever happened before now, it doesn't matter. God just gave me another chance, and I will follow you forward, forward. No matter what comes my way, no matter what the enemy try to say, I'm moving forward. I'm moving forward. I keep my mind. I keep it stayed on you. Cause there's nobody greater than you, Jesus. Nobody greater. Lord, I'm moving. All things. Oh, Lord, you made all things new. All things new. And I will. I'm gonna follow you forward. Yes, I will. My mind says yes. My will say yes. My soul says yes.